And I can remind the honourable member that the coalition government has committed record levels of funding, $69.5 billion over the forward estimates. And this includes a record of $5 billion in funding for students with a disability. We have increased funding by $4.1 billion from 2014-15, which is a 27.9% increase. And that includes a funding increase to government schools of 36.1%, or an increase of $1.9 billion, and a funding increase to non-government schools of 23.4%, an increase of $2.2 billion.
Member for Jagga.
We have reinstated
The Prime Minister will resume his seat. The Leader of the House will cease interjecting. The member for Adelaide will cease interjecting. The Manager of Opposition Business on a point of order.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. It's impossible for the Prime Minister to be directly relevant to this question without referring to David Gonski's recommendations.
The member for the Manager of Opposition Business will resume his seat. The Leader of the House will cease interjecting. The Prime Minister is being relevant to the answer. The Prime Minister has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. We have reinstated $1.2 billion in funding removed by the former Labor government for Queensland, Western Australian and Northern Territory government schools.
Member for Chifley.
The funding schools are receiving now will be available in the future. Funding is rising. There are no plans for it to go backwards, despite the scare campaign from Labor.
Member for Chifley.
That schools will lose money compared to where they are today.
Member for Jagga will
now, the Leader of the Opposition and the member for Adelaide were out this morning trying to scare schools with their dishonest campaign. The member for Adelaide said, and I quote, "Principals right now are grappling with whether or not they can start new programs and whether they can employ more staff."
Member for Moreton
is simply not true. School funding will continue to grow, and schools can make those decisions with confidence, Mr Speaker. As the Minister for Finance acknowledged this morning, in the lead-up to the 2013 election, Labor quite dishonestly tried to lock in spending by putting it in the out years on an unaffordable, unsustainable and unfunded spending growth trajectory. And I can assure parents, teachers, principals that schools funding will remain in place, as was our promise. It will continue to grow beyond 2017.
Member for
and we
Sydney
have committed and delivered more funding for schools, not less than those opposite. And let me just remind honourable members opposite of the South Australian Premier's observation: we haven't seen any coherent or sustainable way in which the Labor opposition's school funding proposal is going to be funded.